Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very casual chit chat with some of our more recent team members to our James family. Mel and Graham are operators of our interior cleaning business in Greenbank in Brisbane, in Queensland, and they've been on board for around, I might already be tested, around 8 to 10 months.
Yeah, that's about right.
Fantastic, fantastic. And look, today, all we're going to do is just have a bit of a general conversation. There is nothing polished, nothing pre-planned to this chat. It really is just to get to know Mel and Graham a little bit more. We would like to know a little bit more about their journey to James and their journey in James in the last 8 months. What's it been like? And really the context for this video is that last month, we had almost 450 people make an inquiry to join the James Network. That is an enormous number of people who are out there researching us right now and looking for more information on what it is that we offer. And there's no better way to share what it is that we're about and what it's like to be a business owner in James than actually to get it straight from people who are doing it. There's no point giving you the sales pitch, because actually we know that what you're really looking for is just some real information about what it's like. So that's what this video is designed to be, just some real information about what it's like to be a business owner in the James Network. So Mel and Graham, I'm going to start off really, really simple and a super basic question. I really just want to know a little bit more about what your professional or career or job background was before coming into James, because some people think that you've got to have experience in running a business or experience in cleaning, and that's not the case. For you guys, what was your background?
What's that?
I was in the aviation industry for just over 10 and a half years before I started with New Zealand, with James. And yeah, so I had no experience at all in cleaning until now. And yeah, so that's basically where I came from, where I started. Yeah.
And for me, I actually came from almost 15 years in the corporate world, in recruitment. And for me, I think it was a really great career. It was rewarding, but it was long hours. It required, I guess, a lot of mental capacity because it was quite a stressful job. There was always a lot of tight deadlines, high volumes of work. And so although I enjoyed it, I think I got to a point last year where I felt that I needed something different. I didn't want to continue living my life in those long days, no time with my children. By the time I would, leave the house early in the morning, it was dark. By the time I got home in the evening, it was dark. So I had very little time with my kids. And I was just looking for something else. And when you've done something for so long, it's really hard to make a change in your career without feeling like you're starting right back at the very, very beginning. And often for many people, that also means that you're going right back to the start of, from an income perspective, you're literally going right back to almost minimum wage if you start in a role that you have no experience in. And so it was quite scary to think, I want to change. I definitely want something different, but what are the options that are available to me that would allow me to do that without having to take a significant, reduction in income? And I think that's sort of what led us to start thinking about the opportunity with James.
Yeah, wow. So completely different backgrounds to what you're both doing now. That's absolutely fascinating. Do you know what? I'm keen to know what kind of conversations were happening in your house. How did you both realize that you wanted a change? Were you miserable in your jobs, or did you just kind of know it was time to do something different? Like, did one of you broach that first? Was the other like, whoa, no, we don't do change over here? Like, how did that come up?
Yeah, good question. I think it probably had started a little while prior to that because we'd made the decision. We'd lived in New Zealand. Well, I'd lived in New Zealand my whole life. Graham had lived in New Zealand since he was 16 years old. And we were sort of just in that constant repetitive cycle of you go to work, you come home, you know, just in that daily grind. We made the decision to move to Brisbane. So we sold everything, packed up, moved here. And part of that was for lifestyle change. We wanted something different for our life and for our children. And then I think once we got here and we took the time, we obviously came into Australia. I brought my job over with me, so I was quite fortunate to be able to work remotely from here. Graham, on the other hand, he had to apply for a new role within aviation, airport operations, and so he did do that. But then shortly after, we realised it was almost the same thing, different day. You know that good old saying. It's like you make this big change. We moved countries, but then it did start to feel like it was just the same thing, different day. And Graham was back to working rotating roster, shift work, super early starts, late finishes, working every weekend, every public holiday. So we started to feel like we're not really getting the lifestyle change that we had wanted and that we'd hoped for. And I think that's probably what led to those conversations.
I've never had a Monday to Friday work, you know. So I've always done a shift rotation and shift work ever since I've started work. So for me too, it's just that was it, you know, just finding something different. And also, you know, the kids are growing up and with, you know, sports and stuff like that, I want to start getting involved in it. So when we came over here, we were looking at that, you know, type of job where I can just do a Monday to Friday normal working hours. And then, yeah, that's when we got, you know, introduced into James by Colin and Deborah.
Friends of
But
ours.
kind of, yeah, that's when had the ball rolling.
Yeah. It's so hard, isn't it? I mean, I remember when I was at the very beginning of my career and my working life, and you know, when you're right at the beginning of it, you know, you stack shelves in a supermarket, or you know, you're a checkout chick, or you're a barista in a cafe. And I was doing those kinds of jobs. That's where you get your start. I was doing those, and you know, you really do expect in that sort of situation to be working long hours and weekends, particularly in your school holidays. You know, I had a fair bit of motivation to try and earn some money and be putting away money for a car and a house and things that I wanted in life. And so, you know, I took on those long hours and those, you know, the late nights and the early mornings and the weekends. And, you know, I'd work at the local cafe during the day, and then I'd literally walk across the road and start my second job at the pub at 6 o'clock at night. And I'd do a second shift at the pub, you know. But as you know, and when you're young, you can be really selfish like that. You know, it's just you. And in fact, I was still living at home with my parents. I was 17, 18, finishing off school while I was doing this, or first, second year of university. So I was living at home with my parents still. And, you know, you can be really selfish because you have the absolute luxury of, you know, rocking up at home and beautiful mum, she's made dinner and she's left me some, and all I have to do is reheat it in the microwave and I'm good to go. And then I can just crash out and wake up again at 5 a.m. and keep going. But when you have, you know, a husband or a wife or a partner and you have a family, you have commitments that just don't allow you to be that free with your time. You know, you have other things that also take your priority, and work becomes less of a priority. You know, it becomes the priority from a financial sense, but I think you reach a point in life where you realize that, you know, money security is excellent, but actual freedom is actually time wealth, having time and having flexibility on your hands. And we hear so often, you know, in our first chat with people when they make an inquiry and we say, you know, what's led you here? You know, so often it is this playing out over and over again. We are just passing ships in the night. You know, we want to actually spend time with the person that we married. And if we've got to start a business together to be able to do that, then that's what we're looking at. You know, it's this same story so often. And kudos to you guys, because it takes guts to pick up and move your life and your family to another country. My hat is off entirely. I know I wouldn't have the courage to do that. There's no way in the world I would ever have the courage to pick up and move to another country. I'm just in awe of anybody who can do that. So, I mean, if we're going to talk about characteristics it takes to start a business and be successful, it's grit and determination. And you guys got that in spades if you can pick up your family and move countries. So when you decided to sort of start looking at other opportunities, was let's start a business together an obvious choice, or was it that connection with friends of yours that introduced you to James that made the difference? Was there other things you were considering? What was that kind of journey of discovery from we need an actual change to, okay, let's look at a business?
And I think that was a process, to be honest, and it wasn't something that we took on lightly. It took us months to really go through all of the motions of thinking things through. I mean, as anyone would be able to, you know, kind of resonate with, there's a huge amount of risk that you take when you make these big decisions. And so you naturally go into that thought process of but what if it doesn't work? What if we fail? What if this? What if that? But I think at the end of the day, you know, it ultimately came down to Graham could leave airport operations, but it was coming down to, but what else would he do, given that his experience in the last 10, 12 years has been in that industry? It meant that he would go, yes, he could go and work for a different airline, or he could go and work in a slightly different role, but it would all still be within that industry, and it would still mean shift work. So really, we weren't changing much. For me, it was the same thing. I could go into a different role, different company, probably have some things that might align a little bit better to my current situation, but again, it would bring me back to still doing the same thing. And I think we'd just reached that point where we knew we sort of felt if we don't sort of just put our big pants on and decide that we're going to actually make a significant change, we're not going to really reap the reward of that. And so I think it came down to making that decision to say, if we don't take a big risk, then the reward won't come. And obviously, yes, we've got very close friends that have been within the James franchise for a number of years. And so there was obviously a little bit of influence there in regards to, we are very aware of their journey. We're aware of their successes that they've achieved in the business. And so I think it was also living proof that, well, hey, if they can do it, I'm sure we can do it too. And so there was a little bit of that. But it didn't come with, it didn't make the decision any easier, by no means, because although we've seen our friends do it, there's still that part of you that thinks, but this is still our life, this is still our finances, this is our family. And if it didn't work, these are the consequences that we would have to then face. So we still had to go through all of those kind of thought processes. And I think I'm the list person, so I literally sat there and I wrote pros and cons and pros and cons. And Graham probably got sick of hearing from me, because I kept thinking, okay, but what about this and what about this? But it was natural. And every time I spoke to my friends, they said it's normal that you're doing that, because if you didn't do that, we'd probably be more concerned that you weren't really thinking it through thoroughly. We didn't think about other franchise options, because personally for us, we had that connection to James through our friends. And so we sort of felt, well, if we're going to make the jump, it would be James. So from that perspective, no, we didn't sort of compare a whole lot of other franchise opportunities with this one. We just felt that we knew that it worked. We'd seen our friends make it work. Justin, with all of our conversations that we'd had with Justin, we'd felt that he'd just been really open, honest, transparent. He'd answered all our questions. So we felt quite at ease from that perspective, that we had all of the information that we needed in order to make the decision. It ultimately just came back to us to go, okay, let's take a deep breath now. Are we ready to make this decision? And are we going all in? And it was big for us because we're a married couple. So this wasn't just one person going into this business and the other person stayed in a secure job. We were both making the decision to leap at the same time. And that was quite nerve-wracking, because we're both leaving incomes that are pretty much guaranteed. We know we're going to get paid next week, next month. And coming into this, it was sort of, wow, okay, we have to make this work. And I think coming back to what you said, Rhiannon, about grit and determination, I think when the stakes are large enough, you don't have any other choice but to make it work. We knew going into this, it was like when we moved from New Zealand to Australia, we sold our home. We knew when we came to Australia, we're not going back. You invest too much to come over here, and you put too much on the line. You don't come for 6 months and go, I don't like it, I'm going back to New Zealand. It's not an option. We've committed to it and we follow through. And the same goes with this. We both took the leap. We decided it was what we wanted to do. And through the hard times, we just have to keep reminding ourselves of why we're doing this. And no matter what, you can't give up. You just have to keep going, because you put too much into it to walk away.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A decision like starting your own business, it's not, you just can't dip your toe in the water, If that water's a bit cold, you can't, once you're in, you're in. And so you really do have to, I love that you say it took you months to make the decision. Because I think that is a really realistic message for anybody listening or watching this chat, is that it is completely normal to take months to make this decision. And it should take you time, because it is a huge decision. It's one of the biggest you'll make in your life. You get married, you have a family, you buy a house, you buy a business, or you start a business. It's probably up there in the top 5 biggest decisions you'll ever be faced with in your life. And so it's not one to be made lightly. And indeed, when we have individuals going through our information process, making their decision about whether this is right for them, it's actually a red flag to us if somebody comes to us and is like, yep, I'm ready to go. Like, let's get this going next week. And we're like, whoa, 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 take a breath. Everybody slow down. We need you to take your time. We need time to educate you about what this is, about what the risks are, about how hard this is going to be and how much you need to put into this. You need time to absorb all of that and to make the right decision for you. We need time to make sure that we feel we're the best fit for you and what you're actually looking to achieve out of the business venture. Everything takes time. And someone who is trying to fast track that process constantly is often not fully cognizant of the risks, and probably is a little bit of an optimist in terms of how easy this is going to be. And I think your mention then of, through the hard times, we've got to remember why we're doing this. I think you touched on something we should dive into a little bit more, because I don't want this chat just to be all fluff and rainbows and, yes, it was a big decision, but I've got 2 questions, actually. I want to start with one. Was there a specific moment where you had made that decision, where you knew, like, how did that actually happen? Was it in a conversation and you were like, okay, let's do this? Or did it happen like over time? Or was it like one of you was just like, right, come on, we've been thinking about this for months, let's jump? How did that actually happen? What was your moment that decision was made?
Like
It was me that was planning to get into the business.
Yeah.
So I was actually thinking of either doing the exterior wash, or the lawn mower. Well, Colin was the one that told me, get into lawn mowing. Yeah. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'll do that. And so I was looking into it. At that same time, her contract was coming to an end.
Yeah, they were making decisions around whether they were going
Because she came over with her job from New Zealand.
and whether they were going to look to employ someone that was
So
back in New Zealand. So there was a number of things that sort of all happened around the same time.
But when that was coming to an end, that's when we thought, oh, okay, well, why don't we just go into this together? Let's do it together, And then that's when we changed from that to maybe we'll do interior cleaning together. But she doesn't want to do lawn mowing.
No, not since Australia has snakes. I wouldn't have minded it. Lawn mowing in New Zealand, different story. Lawn mowing in Australia, not my thing.
Yeah, so that's how it all kind of came about. And then, we start talking to Justin about it as well. And so the
Yeah,
phone was getting
we
clicked.
had quite a few
Yeah.
conversations with Justin actually that sort of went round and round, because where we started the conversation initially was around Graham going into the
Going
business
into-
on his own. And then I would continue in my role so that we still had that financial backing. But then obviously over the course of the conversations, things shifted and moved, and ultimately we ended up, I think it was, Graham wanted to get out of shift work, so that we knew that. So I think that was probably the moment that we knew.
And for her too, it was like she kind of had enough of that job as well, So rather than looking for something else, why don't we just go into it together and start it,
Go in together.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then the interior cleaning
Yeah.
made sense.
Yeah.
When we looked at the different service offering, I think it made sense if we're going to work together,
Yeah.
then perhaps the interior cleaning. Although at first Graham's like, but I don't clean.
You
It's
do
your
now
job.
very well, I hear. And look, interior
Right.
cleaning is not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
It's actually quite physical, isn't it? It's a really manual kind of
It
a
does,
thing to
yeah.
go and do, particularly if you're doing the bond cleans or an office clean.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need some muscles in there on the job.
Yeah, you definitely do. But no, it's I think for us we thought through a lot of things in a lot of different scenarios. We spoke to a lot of people, and I think for us taking the leap and coming into the business, we wanted something that we felt would be really sustainable. And although all the service offerings that are available are great, we just personally felt we would start with interior cleaning because we felt that we could do it together. We wouldn't get called off due to weather. So that was a big thing for us too, because we were so, obviously with both of us giving up our incomes, we needed to know that no matter what, we'd be able to make money every single week. And with the interior clean, the advantage of that option was that it's unlikely, unless someone's really sick and you can't go into their home, most of the time you can still go ahead and clean whether people are home or not, or it didn't matter what the weather was doing. And so that was a huge part of our decision making, was it looks like this could be a really sustainable business, but also you're more likely to have repeat business weekly, fortnightly. So from an income generating perspective, those were some of the things that we looked at, which kind of led us down that path of going, okay, we're doing this, so let's do it together. And let's start with interior cleaning with the view that we would look to add on additional.
And I think it also kind of helps with the decision as well, is how they do the subscription model.
Yeah.
So
it's accessible.
kind of, I mean, we did have the money to pay it off outright, but we thought, no, well, it's nice like this too. You kind of working on the money, and then you kind of paying for it. It's paying for it itself.
Yeah, that's
which
right.
is yeah.
Yeah, and it allowed us to sort of keep that as a bit of an FD.
Yeah, exactly.
If we needed
and that
it.
makes a lot of sense. And that's so much of the reason why we did it. We actually did it because traditionally in franchising, it's the franchisee that puts the money on the table, right? And they take the risk. And they say, here's my 20, 30, 40, 50, 2 million on the table. I'm buying a business in your network, and I'm accepting all of the risk as the franchisee. And I think society has changed, expectations have changed, and frankly, I think franchising kind of hasn't kept up with that as well as it could have. And part of the reason why we introduced the subscription model is that Justin and I felt we should really flip the tables and turn it around. And if we wanted to genuinely build a partnership with our franchisees and work in tandem and genuinely support them to build sustainable businesses, like you guys have mentioned, that was one of the core things you were looking for, something that was going to be sustainable, then we've got to take a whole heap of risk as well, I think. And so we thought, well, let's completely change that dynamic. And instead of saying, hey, franchisee, you give us all your money, we'll train you, we'll teach you, we'll support you, but the risk is all yours. Instead of that, we thought, let's flip it and let's us put the money up front to start the business. And then we've got more of an even playing field. Then we've got, then we can say, we're investing in you. We actually believe through our information process, we've collected enough data and information about you that we genuinely think you're going to make a great business owner in our network. We believe in you. So that's why we're offering you a franchise business in our network. And also we're prepared to invest in getting your business started, and then we can work together on actually building that. And we just felt like that was a paradigm shift that this industry needed. So Graham, I've got a quick question for you that I'm dying to know. What was it like handing in your resignation after a decade or so in the one industry, working all of those long hours, you know, to work in the dark, home in the dark, no time for family or kids, not great flexibility. What was it like handing in that resignation after all those years?
I didn't know what to do with myself. I felt a bit lost. Sometimes I wake up early in the morning going, "Let me see, what's the time? You know, should I be up and getting ready?" kind of thing. Yeah.
Was it
I did miss it.
scary?
Yeah, I did miss it because I was with New Zealand for 10 and a half years with New Zealand. And you know, the staff travel, that's what I miss a lot about
Yeah.
it. We get really good staff discount. But yeah, so when we moved in here, I came and started with New Zealand, sorry, Virgin Australia. Just didn't feel the same anymore, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So from there, it started, you know, some mornings I wake up and I go, "Oh, you know, why am I getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to, you know, start at 3 and stuff like that, you know, just to be there for 5 hours and then I'm back at home,
Mm.
you know, while everyone was still getting up, I'm back in, you know."
Yeah.
But yeah, so
You were excited when you resigned though, because
yeah,
he called me and he's
yeah,
like, "I just clocked out of my last shift." Like he was actually really
yeah,
excited to know that he actually didn't have to go back
100%, yeah. So
Yeah.
into that, just that constant early hours, late finishes. It was really
yeah,
it was the work-life balance
Yeah.
thing.
And you
You
don't
can't put
have
a
to
price
hate
on
the
that
job.
stuff.
Yeah, and you don't have to hate the job or the industry.
oh, yeah, yeah,
It's just that it wasn't giving you what you needed in your life
nah,
anymore. You
that's
know,
it,
it
yeah,
wasn't serving you anymore. And, you know, yeah, obviously it felt pretty good to hand that resignation in and to,
yeah.
you know that something was coming. However, I bet scary, and I want to move on to that now. So let's fast forward, right? You've stepped through our information process. You've made your big decision. Graham, you handed in your resignation. Mel, your contract came to an end and you finished up in your recruiting role, working ridiculous hours under the pressure pump all the time, deadline after deadline, you know, operating that at that really high level every single day, just emotional and mental drain so much in that role. You attended and you completed all of your training with us, and then trading commencement day rolled around. On a scale of 1 to 10, what did that feel like from a fear perspective? Were you worried on that first day where you'd done your trading and we were like, okay, now with our support, we don't just, you know, get rid of you and be like, good luck, wish you well. we're there every step of the way. But on that first day, what did it feel like?
What have I done?
You were thinking Mel's going to come and check how well I cleaned that shower. Did I've done a good job? No, I think naturally there was certainly fear. Absolutely. You're going into somebody's home, and at that point, we didn't even know these people. They were effectively strangers to us. And you're going in, and they're trusting you with their home. They're trusting you with their property within their home. And you just want to do a really good job. And I think that it was just that sense of going, I need to take what I've learned and I need to obviously complete the job. And I really, really, really just want to make sure that my client is happy and that they feel that we've added value, you know, to them. And so probably those first few weeks that we were booking jobs, I felt like a bit of a maniac because I would go through our list of equipment and what we needed, and I would go through it like probably 5 times in my head to make sure, have we got everything that we need? Is it packed? Have we loaded it into the car? Have we make sure we haven't forgotten anything? Have I got the client's address information? Have I got their phone number? It's just all the things that you want to make sure you get right. It comes back to just good old business 101. And we also took longer in those first few weeks of actually doing the actual job. You quote it based on what you sort of feel is appropriate and based off recommendations of what everyone else in the business sort of says that you should charge. And then there were times, absolutely, that we would go and we'd be there for half an hour, sometimes even an hour longer than what we had anticipated. And you kind of beat yourself up a little bit because you think, oh, we need to be faster than this. The client isn't expecting us to be here this long, or if it takes us this long, we're not going to make any money. And so you've got all these things that do roll through your head. But then I think the biggest thing, and this is where obviously all the support we had within the James Network was amazing, because every person we spoke to, they just said, be kind to yourself. You're learning. You haven't cleaned before. These things take time. You will walk into that same house in a few weeks' time and you will whiz around and you will get it done and you'll walk out and you will feel like it was just water off a duck's back. And it is true, because we're at that point now. I mean, we're only 8-9 months sort of, down the track. But because we have a lot of regular and repeat business, we walk into these homes now and we know exactly what we're doing. We know exactly how long it's going to take. We know what our client expects of us. And it's just, you almost don't even think twice about it. You sort of know that you're very capable. And so you get that confidence back, because I think in the very beginning, we were very out of our depth. Yes, I've always cleaned my own home. I've always had high expectations that my own home is presentable. But when you're doing it for somebody else and they are paying for that service, it does add a whole new level of pressure, in the sense that this is not just my home. I can't, I have to do this really well, and I have to ensure that it's done well in my client's eyes as well. And so, yeah, we've certainly learned things along the way. We've learned how we become more efficient. We've just, some of it can be a little bit of trial and error, but you kind of get there. But you just have to trust yourself and know that there's lots of help and support along the way as well. But it definitely comes with fear. Fear and a bit of anxiety.
Oh yeah, and that's normal. It's so normal. It would be worrying if you jumped into day one and had no fear whatsoever. I'll always remember, I read a quote ages ago, like probably 20 years ago. I would have only been in my early teens, and it was something to do with butterflies are good, and feeling fear and feeling nerves is good. It's a sign you care about the outcome. Because if you don't feel nervous, you don't care what's about to happen, So feeling nervous going into someone's home, whenever I deliver the 8 steps training, I spend so much time talking about what a privilege it is to be invited as a service provider into somebody's home. It's an absolute privilege. It's somebody's private space. It's their personal space. It's their safe space. It's their family's safe space. It is the utmost privilege to be invited into somebody's home to deliver a service that supports them living the lifestyle that they would like to live. But it comes with, nerves and, that expectation that you do a really good job. And so what you've expressed is so normal, or I would say for most of our new franchisees, that's exactly what they feel. But the underlying message in your answer is such a beautiful one, because it really is, yes, there are a lot of nerves and a bit of fear, a good dose of anxiety at the beginning, but it's all a learning curve. And I love that statement about be kind to yourself, because there's nothing truer. In those first few months, you're in survival mode. You've gone from, a really high level professional career and, a decade in an industry, aviation, with lots of rules and lots of parameters and lots of boundaries, and you've got to do things exactly how it needs to be done. You've got to follow those procedures, so you're both used to operating at a really high level. It's such a change of pace, and it's very clear you both have really high expectations of yourselves, and that's a great thing. But it also means that you make one tiny little misjudgment or error, and you beat yourself up about it. But actually, it's only an error or a mistake if you do it a second time or a third time. Otherwise, it's just an opportunity to learn. And starting a business is one ginormous opportunity to learn. It is just from, those first 12 weeks particularly, just an enormous opportunity to learn. There is a lot of support that we provide through James Home Services. And one of the things that we do that I really think, frankly, it's a big call, but I'm going to make it. Frankly, I think we do better than any other network in our particular sector is the business coach support we provide. And, it's not to throw shade on anybody else. Everybody provides their own style of support, but the business coach's role in our network is absolutely pivotal to the success of our businesses. And those first 12 weeks are critical. Would you mind just talking a little bit about what working with your business coach has been like, and have you found the value in that relationship that I've just been speaking about? Is that true for you, that it has in fact been really important?
Do we have a business coach?
Looks like to be the comedian, doesn't he? Yes, I agree. I think at the end of the day, especially when you're coming into something that is completely new, we don't know what we don't know. And so we've had Ian, and Ian has been, a wealth of knowledge for us. He's been always available. So whenever we've had questions, we just, I call him, I pop him a text, I send him an email. Whatever way I communicate with him, I always get a response. And so that's been really comforting, just knowing that there's an ear at the end of the phone to help guide us. And if he doesn't know the answer, he'll find out. And that's great, because, there are things that sometimes I ask and he's like, oh, actually, I don't really know. But he'll go away, he'll find out, he'll come back to me. And so that's been really instrumental. And I think having that level of support and just knowing that it's there as well is what gives you a bit of comfort, because you kind of know. And I think it brings me back to, this saying gets thrown around quite a lot, but I think it is quite true. It's like you're in business for yourself, but you're not in business by yourself. And I think that that's a really big thing, because it is up to Graham and I. If we want to make this work, it's up to us. We have to put in the effort, but we're not doing it completely alone. And so there are so many people that have walked this path well before us. There are people that have, made errors and learnt and understand best practice and all these things. And so it's just not being afraid to ask. I think that's the biggest thing, is coming into it, but knowing that you need to be inquisitive, you need to ask questions, you need to actually put your hand up when you need help and when you need support, and not be afraid to do that, because otherwise it could be quite isolating if you did that. We work together all day, every day, and that can be quite isolating at times. A lot of our clients are often out, we just go in and clean while they're not home. And so you only have your own voice or each other's voice. It can get quite isolating, but it's quite nice that you can reach out to the wider network, to your business coach, etc., and have some level of support and guidance along the way. So that has been really, really good.
Yeah. I'm so pleased to hear that, because we really do take a lot of pride in what we encourage our business coaches to, the resources that we give to them to be able to work with our business owners. And it's a real focus for us. I'm often asked, well, what are the growth goals of James Home Services Australia? And I've got to be honest, we're not chasing numbers for the sake of numbers. We are chasing growth. We want this to be a sustainable business, and we have built systems and processes and a platform and a foundation in this business that can handle a lot more business owners utilizing that platform. So we do want growth, but we don't want it for the wrong reasons. We don't want to just chalk up numbers for the sake of it. We want to work with people who are really wonderful to work with, and who have, those characteristics like you guys do, that, so many things that you've mentioned that I mean, we could talk for hours. If I was to actually pick up on all the little things you're dropping throughout this conversation, we could chat for hours, because, you talk about, it's up to you guys, and taking ownership over the outcomes that you see in your business. And that is hands down the number one indicator as to whether someone's going to be a success in this network, is are they prepared to take ownership over the outcomes in their business? And you're in business for yourself, but never by yourself. Another little gem you've dropped in there just seamlessly. And you're so right, but also that support just means that you aren't alone. How have you found it working with each other? Is this the first time in your relationship that you've worked with each other in this capacity every single day? And how have you found it? Is someone the chatty one? Is someone the chaotic one? Is someone the organized one? Is someone the fly by the seat of their pants one? How is that? Has it been fun or has it been challenging?
It's been all of those things. It has been all of those things. No, we've never worked together in this capacity. Like Graham's always had his own line of work. I've had my own line of work, and we would see each other at home. So this has been, it has certainly been a learning curve. I guess day to day though, it works. And the reason it works is that although we are together, once you walk into a home, you just kind of almost take on your own individual role. So the way that we've split it, Graham does bathrooms, and sometimes the vacuuming, depending on time. I naturally take up some of the more sort of intricate tasks. I'll do all the dusting, I do the kitchen areas, I'll do most of the time the vacuuming, the mopping. And then when we're doing spring cleans or, larger cleans, then we kind of just divvy up who's doing what. So although we are together, we're not literally working together at all times. Like we walk into homes sometimes and we don't see each other until the job's done and we're packing up the car because you're just in different areas of the home. So you kind of almost figure out pretty quickly what each other's preferences are and where your strengths are. And so you kind of take on those roles naturally. I'm the organizer. So I typically am the person, I know the schedule. I'm the person that coordinates where we are at what time. I would say that I facilitate most of the customer contact, like all of our client interactions, the follow-ups.
I just do what I'm told.
No, actually, it sounds like you guys have got a really great strategy. You obviously worked out very early on, and no doubt your background in HR is just, shining through here, Mel. But, it's such a great strategy. Figure out what you're really good at or what you enjoy doing and, work to your own strengths. And if you're, when you're fortuitous enough to work in a pair, you've got the ability to be able to say, hey, I'm no good at X. Can you take that part of the job on? And it's such a great strategy to work. You're not tripping over each other. And it sounds like you've got this system down. You walk into a house, you both just know what you need to do, where you need to go, and what you need to get done. It sounds like, was it natural that you fell into that rhythm, or did it take a little while just to kind of nut that out?
A little while. Like I think there were certain things that naturally just came our way. Like I'm naturally the admin person. So it made sense that I would learn. It made sense that I would learn about obviously, Butler. I do the invoicing. I learned Xero. So it's just I've naturally just taken those roles because I enjoy that stuff anyway, and I like to have my finger on the pulse in regards to what's going on with the business. But then Graham's adopted some jobs. I wouldn't say that he would put his hand up to say, yes, I want to do that. But from a time perspective, he's become, at the end of the day, anyone that works in interior cleaning knows that your job's not done when you get home. You've got to unload the car. You've got to wash all your clothes. You've got to wash, prepare everything for the next day. So Graham's naturally taken on the laundry.
Perfect.
So every day that we get home, it's this guy that's unloading the car, making sure everything's washed, dried, hung out, whatever needs to happen. I don't even have to think twice about that now. He just gets it done, and he will let me know when we're running low on products. So he looks after the inventory, for lack of a better word. He'll say, oh yeah, I've topped up all these products and this is what we need more of and we need to order this. So we've just it's taken a bit of time, but we've sort of naturally just worked out there's no point us both tripping over each other to do the same thing. It's not a good use of time. So often I'll come in, I do the invoicing, I do everything in the system, and then he'll be out in the garage unloading the car, doing all the things. So we've kind of just figured it out. And for the most part, it works. It works. And we communicate if he can't do...
He does hand signals.
I mean, Graham, at this point of the relationship, don't you just read her mind? My partner reads my mind, right? Or at least I expect him to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, I think communication is important though. I think, we do have to check in with each other, you know, daily, just to check how each other's feeling. And if one person's not having a great day, you know, Graham's been a bit sick lately and hasn't been feeling the greatest. And so you do sometimes just have to take on a bit more. I think it's taken a bit of time for us just to kind of find our feet and sort of figure some of those things out. But then for a large part, I think we've sort of just naturally kind of assumed those roles and figured that if it works, let's just roll with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple of kind of quick fire questions. Favorite part about running your own business, least favorite part about running your own business.
Go first. I'm going to go first. I would say favorite part has been definitely a level of flexibility that we've found more balance in our life and more time for other things. But that also goes hand in hand with building the relationships with our clients. Like, we actually are so fortunate. We have lovely clients, and I didn't think that was something that I would find or that I'd appreciate. I actually just thought you come in, you do the job, you leave, da da da. But actually, the people side of it has been really, really lovely. And I'm so grateful that we have those clients. They're just amazing. Least favorite, I think it would just have to be, there's still naturally that concern there just around income. It's like, okay, are we doing enough work to generate enough income? How do we grow? Because you are still effectively, you work an hour, you get paid an hour. It's that same kind of methodology. And so I think it's sort of feeling like, you know, let's start to think bigger because we do want to grow. And yeah, so there's sort of naturally, probably that would be if I was to put a worst part on it, it would probably just be that natural fear around, the income side and just how do we keep prepared.
Yeah, you guys have reached that awkward point, and you know you've built your business, and frankly you built it quite quickly in the scheme of things, and you built it to a point where you know you're almost at capacity, the two of you, and now you're on that precipice of, well, now we need to grow, and it's chicken or an egg. You know, we don't have capacity to take on more clients, but we need more clients to have more work in order to take on a team member. And so it's a really awkward point, and it's probably a bit of a defining point for most business owners, you know, and they will talk about the challenge when they get to your point, and people either go one of two ways. They embrace the challenge, they embrace that, you know, uncertainty, and they say, no, I want growth and I'm committed to it. And absolutely, quite rightly you said, Mel, you know, you work an hour, you're paid for an hour, and that's right until you employ staff. And then that's where you can find some greater efficiencies of scale and some potential profitability above and beyond what you're experiencing at the moment. People either embrace that and take on that challenge and they pursue growth, or it forces them to reevaluate and say, well, actually, is what we're earning just us enough? Are we satisfied with that? And maybe we don't want, you know, to grow further. So yeah, it's an interesting part, and I'm not surprised that that's, you know, a part of uncertainty for you. It's natural. It's an awkward stage, if I'm honest. It's really awkward. You know, you sort of sit in this, I'm not quite sure, we need one, but we can't do that. And it's just awkward. Yeah. So Graham, for you, favorite part, least favorite part?
That's basically what she said.
Favorite part?
Yeah.
What your wife?
No, well, that's the thing. It's the time that we've had together, you know. We've managed to work together. We go together to the same place, and the hours, you know, you can change and move things around to suit. So that's the best thing about, you know, working on your own. And the least will be the unknown, and whether we should grab it by the thing and move, you know, go with it, or, you know, just this is enough for us and we'll just move slow, you know. So that'll be it.
And there's no right or wrong answer to that, is there? Which is
Mhm.
which is part of the challenge, and why it's so awkward is that
Yeah.
everybody is motivated by different things. One of the things that, you know, in a previous conversation that we've had, you know, you've mentioned how important your family is and how much of a motivating factor they were in starting this business. What do your kids think? You know, you've moved country, you've started your own business. Are your kids proud of you? Do they see what you're doing? What do they think?
Oh yeah, they are proud. They are super proud that
Yeah,
we've, you know, got our own business,
Yeah,
and also we got more time for them.
yeah,
That's the main thing. So
yeah,
So
yeah.
they're seeing more of you.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
so important.
Because
Yeah,
most of the time, I'll wake up and go to work. They're still sleeping, and then if I'm gonna do a double, I come back. They've gone back to bed, so I don't really see them. You know.
Yeah, you had days
So,
where
yeah,
you wouldn't even see the kids
yeah.
at all. And I think one thing that's probably a big thing for us personally is that this year, our youngest son has really found a love for league, and so he's playing league, and it's actually almost brought tears to my eyes because I've been able to see Graham as a father taking his son to 2 trainings a week consistently and being at the games every single weekend. Whereas that was something he never did. It was always me. I had to work full time, rush home, get the kids in the car, get them off to trainings, and all I could do was tell Graham about it. I couldn't actually involve him because he was always having to work, and because of the rotating nature of his shifts, he couldn't be sure if he would be rostered on or off to actually commit to anything. He even helps out at the trainings, you know, he volunteers and helps the coach. And so there's been all these little things that you don't often even think about, but then when they happen before your eyes, I've had moments where I've gone, wow, okay, we dreamt of this. Like, this is the stuff that makes it all worth it, because these were the moments that he never had. And now he gets to have them. And our youngest son's actually 9. So, you know, there's a lot of years that he missed out on, but it's knowing now that moving forward that this business gives us that opportunity that he can really be involved now. And that he gets the joy of being able to go along and teach his son how to throw the ball and all these things. You know, it's actually like so cool. And now we get family that come to the kids' games in the weekends because Graham's family, you know, he'll tell his brother and his sister, oh, you know, kids got a game, whatever. And so they all kind of come along because we're all there as a family watching, you know, the games on the weekends. And that in itself, you just cannot put a price on that stuff. Yeah, it's great.
how incredible. That thank you for sharing that. That's quite personal. And I feel, oh, it's, you know, we work so hard at head office to support our business owners, and we genuinely believe, you know, we go about our role with so much integrity and so much heart, and just try and do the absolute best we can by everyone in our network. And, you know, we have pretty aspirational kind of goals around the level of support we provide and what that enables. And normally when we talk about what it enables, we talk about it from a business success perspective for our business owners, you know, what it enables them to achieve in their business turnover and, you know, the flexibility of time, sure, but, you know, being able to control your schedule and being able to, you know, perhaps save the deposit for the house or buy that car that's your dream car. You know, those are the sorts of things that we look at. But honestly, it's about so much more than that, isn't it? You know, and it's about the stuff you can't put a price tag on, because you can put a price tag on business success. You can set a goal, you can set a target, and if you work hard and you take ownership over your decisions, then you can get there. You know, there's no reason why you can't get there if you really put your head down and you work hard at it, and, you know, and you ask questions when you need to, you seek out support and guidance, and you really commit and dig deep. You can get to any business goal you set for yourself. But you can't always script and plan for the little moments that you've just talked about. And it's so grounding for me. It brings me back down to earth, and it reminds me that it's not always about having the most profitable business or the biggest business or the loudest business or the most well-known business or the business with the most staff. Actually, what's more important than all of that stuff is, sure, financial security, but actually what's more important is what you determine to be important. And for you guys, it sounds like those little moments where your little people get to see you and spend more time with you. It sounds like maybe that's been sort of something that you expected to a degree, but, you know, experiencing those moments now has been incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And even just to bring you back to that question about our kids, sometimes I even hear our children, oh, do you guys have a cleaner? My parents are cleaners. My parents could come and clean your house.
I love
It's
that.
actually like, oh my gosh, we've heard that come out of our son's mouth quite a few times. Do you guys have cleaning?
Oh, that's great. Do you know,
When
and
he
I
checks
asked that
his fridge.
question. I asked that question because I remember growing up and going to school, and I remember that a couple of my friends had parents who owned their own business. And I always just remember like looking up to those adults and being like, wow, you know, how incredible. You own your own business? That's incredible. I always remember being so in awe. And you know, the hilarity of it is that my parents are farmers, which is owning your own business as well. But I never kind of drew that relationship to my own parents, or I don't know. I just remember being so inspired by adults who owned their own business. And I just thought, wow, that's incredible. And so, yeah, I wondered if your kids have sort of, I wonder if they kind of grasp the magnitude of this decision that you guys have made. And I hope that as they get even a little bit older that they do, and you know, it might not even be anything they ever say to you, but it might just be that, you know, watching you guys take ownership over your business, you know, it's going to teach them things that they just wouldn't otherwise have been exposed to. I certainly find that, you know, I tend to think that I have a great deal of resilience and persistence and determination. And honestly, I think that comes from watching my father struggle as a farmer, you know, against drought and climate change and, you know, the challenges that you face as a business owner. There are always challenges, be it farming, be it a cleaning business. There are always challenges that are outside of your control. And I think a lot of my own characteristics in, you know, perseverance and determination have come from just being involved in a world where figuring it out and taking ownership is the only way. There's no one to come and rescue you. You got to sort it out for yourselves. And, you know, I really value now, the older I get, I value now the lessons that he taught me without him even knowing. In fact, he would probably be shocked if he ever watched this video because it's not actually something I've ever admitted to him. So if we move toward wrapping up the chat, what you mentioned, I just want to go back just for a quick little minute before I ask the final question. I just want to go back for a little minute. Mel and Graham, you both spoke about how sort of subtly surprising it's been to you, the value of your client relationships that you have built over the last 8 months. And I just, obviously, you know, it was something that you expected, but maybe not as soon. What has it been like building those relationships, and what value do you get? What's your favorite part about getting to work your own business and having your own clients?
I think it's just the fact that because the nature of this business, because we're going into their homes weekly, fortnightly, or whatever it might be, there is a level of kind of connection that you build with them, because as I said earlier, it's like there's a huge amount of trust that they give you to allow you into their home. And they talk to you, you get to understand what they do, you know, whether they're working, not working, you know, you get to know their family, their pets, whatever it might be. You do get to know them, you know, on a really good level. And I think for us, even some of them are almost like friends now. Like they'll tell us things, recommend things to us. You know, it's just nice. And I think it really makes you, one, we hugely appreciate them because they're our clients and they are effectively supporting our little local business. And so we're hugely grateful and appreciative of that. But it's also just knowing that you've got these people that you depending on their circumstances, every single one of them, there's a way that we feel that we're truly adding value to their life or to their world. We're giving them time back, etc. And so we've been really lucky in the sense that these types of jobs that you do, sometimes they can be a bit, thankless. You go in, you can clean a house, you vacuum, you leave, and that's kind of the end of story. And I think if you let it, you could allow that type of work to be a bit thankless. But in our situation, we understand why our clients want to utilize our service. And when you understand that, you learn and develop a way of connecting with them and knowing what actually matters most to them and how you can deliver that. And sometimes in the littlest things, like even learning, how they might want their flowers displayed on their bench top, or how they want their tea towels hung, and things like that. And you learn these things from getting to know them and asking, is there anything you'd like us to do differently next time, or what have you? But I think as we've come to know them, you just walk out of there actually you feel a little bit, you feel quite satisfied within yourself that, you've done what other people might determine as quite mundane tasks. But actually, these are things that really help people and give them time back. For a lot of them, I don't know how to explain it. It's just we've actually really built.
We've got one client, and kind of old. Every time we go into their house, they just want to talk.
Yeah.
They even invite us to come and sit, and they'll make us coffee.
Yes, I have heard that so often from our teams. Yeah, it's so lovely. I mean, instantly it tells you that they absolutely value your company and your friendship. But it is so important, isn't it? Particularly for our older community who may not have friends or family who visit on a daily basis, or maybe they're a little less mobile than they once were. And so they can't necessarily get out and, go to happy hour at the pub or go and see their friends as often as they once did. And so the people who come into their home to deliver sometimes what we might think is mundane and basic services, actually, it's a lifeline to them. It's so much more. You're not just there to clean their home or to tidy their kitchen. You're there for support. You're there for companionship. You improve their mental health, by taking time, I've heard of a lot of our franchisees who will often come into someone's home, particularly older clients, and will start the service by flicking the kettle on and making the client a cuppa.
Yes.
And they'll prioritize the rooms in the house that they clean so that they can have a chat with the client while the client's having the cuppa. And honestly, I mean, you leave the client with a cleaner home. You also leave the client with a fuller heart. You leave the client a little bit lighter in life because they've had a chat with someone. You can't place value on that, can you? It's so important.
No, and I think that's been the thing that's probably been quite rewarding that I didn't expect. I didn't expect that we would have that level of kind of, connection with the clients. And so it's been really, really quite refreshing and quite nice to have, and we really value it. So
yeah, that's beautiful. One last question. The right decision, yay or nay? And would you repeat it? If you were to go back 8 months in time, would you make the same decision again?
Yeah, and look, as you said, we're on the cusp at the moment of figuring out, we're in that little awkward spot. And I think, look, we've had our moments. We've certainly had our moments where we've gone, oh gosh, did we do the right thing? Would we have been better off staying in our secured, sort of employment? But I think, look, deep down, whenever we've had those moments of uncertainty, it has automatically brought us back to the reasons why we're doing this. And the reasons why we're doing it, 100% would do it all again in a heartbeat. Because it is giving us, it might take us a while to get there, but we're slowly making those steps to where we want to be in the future. And, we're making it work. We're making it work.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And we've had a whole lot of things happen in our world in the past few months. It hasn't been an easy start to 2024. And it has been hard at times to kind of just put our hat on and go, we've got clients, we've got business, we just need to knuckle it down and get it done. But on the other hand, is that if we didn't have this business and we didn't have the level of flexibility that it actually brought, there's no way that we would have been able to be with our family in the times of need. And so I think we can't take that lightheartedly. I think that that has meant the world to us, you know, and our clients have been super understanding when we've had to message and say, look, could we come tomorrow instead? Or could we just change things around this week? And they've been so incredibly understanding and supportive of us being able to do that. And so we wouldn't have been able to do that if we had our normal jobs. It wouldn't have been possible. So yes, we would do it again in a heartbeat.
I think that is a perfect place to end this chat. I've got to say, guys, I'm completely in awe, honestly. I mean, firstly, you pick your life and your family up and you move countries. Then you decide to give up 2 professional wages to, you know, start your own business. And, you know, we've had chats before where we've sort of dived a little bit even deeper into the why. And your why, it's incredibly humbling. It's a really beautiful why as to, you know, what you're really doing this for. And I'm in awe. You guys have got grit, determination. You are just 2 beautiful souls to top it all off. And I really, really wish you all of the success. And I know that we're going to keep walking with you through this awkward phase, and, you know, whichever direction you intend on taking, I hope that we can be the best possible support to you in getting you to your own business goals. So thank you. Also, you've also taken an hour out of your day to sit and have a chat with me when you don't have an hour. No new business owner has a spare hour. So
Yeah, man, we're
I
very
really
busy.
appreciate that. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No, and thank you, Rhiannon. It's been a pleasure having the opportunity even just to share our journey. And yeah, for anyone else that's considering this is an opportunity, think it through. But I think if you really want change, you have to be willing to make the change and to take the risks. And if you commit to it, you can make it. Absolutely.
What a perfect final closing message.